You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 155. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. You might have noticed that it's been about a month since I last released an episode, and there's many reasons around why that was, and it was not actually intentional. I look back at episode number 4, all the way down back 151 episodes ago, where I was asking the question if there is such a thing about work-life balance. And my answer back then, years ago, and remains today, is no. There is no such thing as balance. And I say no because of the actual definition of balance, meaning that things are all equal. I think of the teeter-totters that my kids play on, and to me, that's a perfect reflection of what balance is. But the truth is that each side goes up and goes down depending on where you are in your life, where you are in a week or a month or in the middle of a day. And my response back in episode number 4 was that true balance is achieved when you're able to focus on whatever it is in that true moment. So if my moment is making dinner with my kids, sitting down at the table, eating dinner as a family, and I am fully present in that moment, then I have achieved balance. This school year, I have taken on, I'm just going to say it, way too much. I've not only joined the PTA, I'm on the board, I'm the vice president of communications, I have been volunteering for Moms Demand Action, I have been campaigning for our mayoral candidate, Matt Mahan, I've been canvassing for Matt as a Moms Demand Action volunteer. So I've been combining all of these things. I am the Daisy Troop leader for Catherine's troop. I am the Wolf Pack leader for Declan's Cub Scout group. And the list just continues to grow. In addition to being a business owner, writing a book, being a podcast host, being a wife, and finding time in all of that for myself as well. And at first I thought, wow, I'm really crushing it. I am managing to do all of these things while still cooking dinner, eating at the right time with the family. We're doing soccer games and practices on top of that. And I thought I'm doing a really good job until I stopped for a moment to think about what is it that I'm not doing in order to fulfill all of these other things that I am doing. One of them was the podcast. Another one was that I wasn't reading books the way I used to. And for me, I read usually 2 books at a time. One is going to be a nonfiction one that I'll do in the evening when the kids are watching TV and it's not something I want to watch, or after they've gone to bed and I'm in the dark hallway because, I still do that. And then before bed, I read a fiction book in bed. And I was falling asleep much quicker. So the reading at bedtime was not going the way it used to be. And instead of taking my time to relax and unwind and read a book during normal hours, I was working on newsletters. I was working on the auction committee. I was creating the to-dos for our next meetings for Daisy Scouts and Cub Scouts. I was on Twitter getting into battles for our mayoral candidate. I was doing all of these other things, and it was myself that I was neglecting. Dinner was still being made. Dinner was on the table. I was present for the kids completely. We were doing homework together. I still had date nights. We went away to Hawaii for a week and I was fully present for that. But there were other things that were personal to me that I was giving up, and I was giving them up for other people. And I also recognized that it wasn't making me feel fulfilled. I was getting aggravated and frustrated depending on what task I was working on. I would complain to my husband about it to the point where he said, "Can you just stop volunteering for whatever this is today? Because it's not working." And the moment I would sit down to do my actual work, my job, run my business, work with my clients, the feelings and emotions I had completely changed. I was so happy and lit up and proud of my achievements. Not to say that I'm not proud of what I've done in my volunteer work, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't as fulfilling. And I know that using my voice is definitely something that I can continue to do, but I don't need to jump so full force into it that I'm going to save the world and be the voice and change everyone's opinions and get votes and all of this other stuff, because there's a whole host of other people who can and should be doing the same thing. It amazes me as I get deeper into some of these volunteer things as to how many others aren't doing their part, whether it's at all or even an hour or two here and there. And I need to recognize, this is me personally, I need to recognize I don't always have to be the one. When it came to soccer ending, there was one team where nobody raised their hand to do the coach's gift. And I always am the one who raises my hand, who organizes it, who says, "Okay, I'll gather the money and I'll go do the shopping and I'll make sure we have a card and everybody signs it." And that shouldn't fall on me. I shouldn't put that on me. And that is my problem. That's an issue that I'm dealing with, is that I don't need to say, yes, I can do it, because I know I can do it, but it's not bringing me joy. And if it's not going to bring me joy, then I don't need to do it. The world isn't going to end. And someone else will eventually, hopefully, pick that up that I didn't do, because things have been going on for centuries and centuries. PTAs have been running and functioning just fine before I came along. Moms Demand Action has been functioning for years as well. You know, the mayoral campaign is over in less than a week. We'll be voting probably the day that this releases. It'll be election day. And so I will continue to use my voice, but I'm going to step back and start saying no more often. I'm going to create these boundaries that I had them in place, but I let them drop. I said yes too many times, even though I've come on the show, I've talked about sitting on your hands, because that's what Emma Isaacs has written about and taught me. You don't always have to say yes. You don't always have to say, "I'm going to do it." You can say no, and it's okay to say no, especially when you're volunteering for something. I had no idea how difficult it can be to be a volunteer. There are so many parameters around what a volunteer can do, how you need to go through hoops to be a volunteer. For example, for the kids' school, you have to have your fingerprints and a background check and your COVID boosters and vaccinations, and you have to submit your driver's license, your insurance, all of these things. And then they say, "Oh, well, our machine broke, so it's going to be like 7 weeks before we can get you in for your fingerprints." Yet I just had my fingerprints done that I had to pay for the Boy Scouts. So my fingerprints are done, but the school can't communicate with the Boy Scouts, even though it all goes through the same government agency, on and on. So that's one hurdle. But did you hear where I said I had to pay for my own fingerprints to be a volunteer for the Boy Scouts? That doesn't make sense. There are rules around being a volunteer and what you can say and what you can't say. And for some places, it's just assumed that you've read all of these rules. So don't do the wrong thing. If you say the wrong thing, you'll get scolded for it. And I ran into that with one organization this year. And despite me doing the best that I thought I was doing, I got scolded. I got reprimanded. And that was enough for me to say, then you know what? I don't need to keep volunteering my hours. It's really tough to be a volunteer, I feel, in what we have to do and the hoops that we continue to go through. Now, I don't say all of this to discourage you from volunteering for something. I think it's great to volunteer, but I think that, at least for me, I can't make my entire life be volunteer stuff. It doesn't bring me the joy and light me up the way that maybe it does for others. I know that I am already making a difference in the work that I do, and I'm also getting paid for it. And that really excites me because that means that I'm changing not just the lives of others, but my own family's lives. I'm creating that legacy that goes forward for all of us to, go on vacations, to hopefully buy a beach house someday. And that's all part of my work that makes me so excited knowing that I'm doing this. And I love to use my voice. I'll continue to use my voice, but I've come to the realization that I don't need to do it all. I don't need to be on the board of the PTA, on top of gathering the sponsors, on top of chairing an auction, on top of doing all of the communications. I can just do one thing. I could just chair the auction and call it a day. And someone else can pick up the newsletter or the social media posts. And I think this is why also a lot of volunteers get so burnt out. Because once you say yes to one thing, others think that you can just do the rest of them because you've done one. And it's to the point where I've actually been asked if I work, if I have a job. And people seem really surprised that I don't just work, but I own a business. And, I have others who work with me. And there's a team and there's multiple clients. This to me is an indicator that I'm doing too much. Because someone is looking at all that I'm doing and thinking there's no way this person has time to work on top of all of the volunteer stuff. So that's my red flag to myself to sit on my hands more, to not say yes to anything and everything. And I'm working on it. I'm stepping back. I'm working on not saying, yes, I'll do this and asking for help. I need someone to do this for me. But at the same time, when you raise your hand of, I need help, I would hope that there are people who will say, yeah, I'll take on this one part of all of the other things that are falling under you in your volunteer position. But that's the other problem is once you have that hat on and you need to rely on other people, they're not always there. So that's what I'm currently running up against is that I've said yes, but I need help. And if I can't get the additional help on the volunteer side, then I can't volunteer anymore. Because to me, although all of the organizations that I'm volunteering with and for are important, my business and my family comes first. I can always use my voice and be an advocate and an activist for these organizations. But I don't need to volunteer tons of hours every single week. I need to be able to not only give in my business and in my family life, but I need to get that time back for myself. I need to be able to read my books, to do my nails, not even go out to get them done, just simply do them at night. And to ensure that I have that time to cook the meal that I want to cook because I enjoy cooking dinner, but I don't have the time to make these big meals that I love doing. So I'm taking that time back. I'm making sure that I'm coming into this next holiday season more balanced and grateful, thankful, passionate about what I do, and to also get my mindset into that whole season of just happiness. I love the season that we're going into, but I feel that right now there's so much frustration within me that I won't be able to enjoy the season the way that I should and the way that I have. So I say all of this in order to show that there is no such thing as balance and that it does get tweaked one way or another. And that although it may look like, oh, you're doing it all, something is missing. Something is getting pushed to the wayside, no matter which way you look at it, because once you add something, something else has to move. Something has to become smaller, less of a priority in life when we take on more. And I've now realized after having taken on too much that I need to go back and to say no, to say less of the volunteer stuff, more of what really lights me up, makes me happy. And that is business for me. I absolutely love what I do. And that may sound corny and you might be going, yeah, okay, she doesn't love it that much, but I really freaking do. I sent a text this morning to my husband saying, guess what happened on the work side? I landed this and I was so excited. That's what makes me happy. I love doing that. Not to say that I don't love raising money for my children's school, but it's not the same passion and fire that is inside of me. So that's where my focus is going to be. And I want you to know that if you are volunteering for something, it's okay to cut back. It's okay to prioritize what you want, because there will always be opportunities to volunteer and to use your voice and to change the world. But you have to be happy and healthy within yourself in order to be effective with anything else. So I invite you to take stock of what that means to you as we enter the holiday season, and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and every other holiday. I think I read there's 19 holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I might be off a few there, but we have a big holiday season coming up. So take this time in early November to reflect on what you want that to look like, and then make it happen. If that means you have to pull back from some things, this is your permission to pull back, to put yourself first, to put your family first, to do what is going to make you happy and remember this season as we wrap up 2022.